And call the meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item 3 on the agenda, roll call.
Dr. Cephalou?
Present.
Gary Stansberry?
Present.
Kendra Thomas?
Present.
Donald Stevens?
Present.
Angelina Brocata?
Present.
Jackie Sheremy?
Present.
William McCarty?
Present.
All present.
Moving on, item 4 on the agenda, approval of minutes from the meeting of January 4th, 2023.
I'll move to approve the minutes.
I second it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 5 on the agenda, just to get everyone up to speed, in order to remain compliant, we do have to have a public comment period before we can move forward with normal business. So there's a few housekeeping items that we need to pursue and to vote on. So now would be the time for anyone to come up for a public comment not related to OB closure. Nobody's listed? Okay.
No, sir.
All right. Moving on to item 6 on the agenda, financial report.
All right, the current assets as of January 31st, 2023 is $1,529,329.43. The total restricted assets were $716,989.99. Total assets totaling $2,246,319.42. Our total liabilities were zero. Our total net position was $2,246,319.42.
I'll make a motion to approve the financial report.
A second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to item 7 on the agenda. Pension plan and profit sharing plan managed by Voya.
The termination Lakewood Hospital profit sharing plan and Lakewood Hospital's 457B plan is almost complete. As previously discussed, there were dozens of employees of Lakewood Medical Center who still had not taken a distribution of their retirement funds after the Lakewood plan was terminated. As of March 3rd, nearly all the balances in the terminated plans had either been distributed to participants or transferred in IRAs with Voya Financial. Those who did not respond to requests to take a distribution of their funds had their balances transferred to IRAs with Voya Financial via tax-free rollovers. Participants continue to have full access to their funds at all times and can direct the investment of their funds with Voya or roll over their funds to another provider. Going forward, all questions and requests for distributions will be handled by Voya. Finally, there are 3 deceased participants that have account balances that are under 1,000 haven't been transferred. We're trying to locate them, and if they're not found or don't respond, we'll have those balances transferred to the state unclaimed property fund. So we're moving along as directed with the termination. Any questions? That's it. That's it.
All right, moving on to item 8 on the agenda, discussion and any action on authorizing Dr. Cephalou to execute engagement authorization for Calder, Slavin & Company for the 2022 annual audit and to execute the attestation questionnaire.
You have that document in your packet. It's a regular, form letter in connection with the annual audit that we have to do for the legislative officer's office. So I recommend that you proceed with it.
Just a motion.
Move to allow Dr. Cephalou to execute the engagement for the audit and the questionnaire.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Moving on to item 9 on the agenda, chairperson's report and announcement of follow-up special meeting April the 5th, 2023. We will be having a special meeting April 5th. At that time, we will be hearing from Morgan City High School Allied Health Program. They'll be giving us a presentation. They're coming to us for some requests for funds, so I want to encourage everyone to attend. They have a phenomenal program, and we're looking forward to hearing more about it. On to my chairperson's report. So since I have everyone's attention, I'd like to take this opportunity. I think it's a good idea to provide everyone with a brief update and give everyone a frame of reference as to where we've been, where we hope to go, and what we're currently dealing with Ochsner's recent announcement. As you all know, in October of 2019, the hospital was at risk. It was at risk for closure. And we needed a partner, and we were losing money, and it was a high-risk situation, and Ochsner stepped up and joined this community to help us continue to provide excellent health care to our citizenry. And for that, I will be forever indebted to them for. We couldn't have timed it better. Soon thereafter, a pandemic hits, and I can tell you we greatly benefited from Ochsner's resources, their knowledge base, their specialty staffs, their provisions. And it was during that time that we began to really forge a great partnership with Fernis and the team. Hospital Service District contributed $250,000 for ventilators. If you recall, there was shortages throughout the world, and we wanted to secure those for our citizens, and we did. And if things couldn't get worse, Hurricane Ida hits, and you have a natural disaster on top of the peak of a pandemic, and that was quite trying. And further, I think, strengthened the relationship that we had working with them. Providing food, providing services, ensuring that they had everything they needed to succeed and to continue to provide that excellent care. And I know a lot of community leaders were involved in that, and we certainly appreciate that as well. And that has ultimately led to our partnership through our community outreach coordinator, Dewan Navarre, who is funded through a cooperative endeavor agreement with Ochsner to provide community outreach, get out in the schools, get out to doing our normal business, which we had been restricted from doing because of the pandemic. So things have only been good. And so it is with a great deal of, I would say, disappointment that we hear about, this potential decision to close the OB service line. I don't think anybody wants this. I know I don't. I certainly understand some reasonings behind it, but I would have appreciated, and I think we all would have appreciated, more of an opportunity to play a more intimate role in that decision-making process. And so I hope today is the start of some good discussions, some open discussions about how we got here, and potentially we could provide some ideas with the help of community leaders about ways we can move this forward in a positive way. So with that being said, I will move on from my report to item 10 on our agenda, which is the presentation by Ochsner St. Mary relative to its decisions regarding its OB department, and we'll invite Fernis Leblanc.
Thank you, Dr. Seflin, for the recap, and appreciate the invite by the HSD board for us to come up tonight and make a few comments. So to start, healthcare is deeply personal, so I understand that some members of the community are upset and may not support the decision. While I serve as regional CEO of the Bayou, I am first and foremost a husband, a father, and a son. My family and I use Ochsner St. Mary for our healthcare needs. Morgan City is fortunate to have a hospital of this caliber within the community and fortunate to have many other hospitals in our region. Access to health care is a challenge, especially in rural communities across the country, and we don't take the services here for granted. While consolidating labor and delivery in our region was a difficult decision, it is the best overall decision or direction for our community based on the needs of the community's aging population. We understand the sense of pride and ownership the community has for Ochsner St. Mary, and our goal is to continue to strengthen that bond as well as to allow a continuation of improvements in the way we deliver care in the region. As healthcare providers, we take our responsibility to provide the best care possible for the people of St. Mary Parish seriously. It is vital that we continuously look at the needs of our community and recognize that the priorities of the parish and the region change over time. Those needs are reflected in population data estimates from St. Mary Parish, which project a 6.2% decline in women of childbirthing age in the next 5 years. On the other hand, the number of adults turning 65 will grow by 10.9% over the same period. We continually evaluate the services offered at the hospital along with changing landscape of healthcare, and ultimately must make the change and align our commitments to meet the changing needs of the community and the people we serve. To meet the needs of an aging population, we are committed to providing more adult medical services. This will strengthen our mission of providing high-quality care to our patients and allow us to do even more for the communities we serve. Among the 5 area hospitals that provide labor and delivery services, Ochsner St. Mary accounts for fewer than 7% of the total births in the region. Very few of the community members are utilizing Ochsner St. Mary to deliver their babies. That's less than 16 deliveries per month on average. With so few deliveries, we will not be able to maintain the standard of safety and high quality care patients deserve and is especially needed in a high-risk delivery or delivery with unexpected complications. For example, there are only 4 deliveries in the entire month of March and only 4 in April. With so few deliveries, it's hard for physicians and nurses to maintain the standard of excellence mothers deserve. According to the Louisiana Hospital Association 2022 Shared Core Utilization Report, Ochsner St. Mary delivered the fewest babies amongst all 66 reporting hospitals in Louisiana with full-time labor and delivery services. With only 1 full-time OBGYN and limited on-call providers, Ochsner St. Mary is unable to provide 24/7 obstetrics coverage in the hospital. We continue to offer many services for women at Ochsner St. Mary, such as gynecological surgery, 3D mammography, and bone density scans, and keeping care close to home. In addition to Ochsner St. Anne, there are 3 other hospitals in the region offering labor and delivery services. All 23 Ochsner employees affected will be offered positions currently available at Ochsner St. Mary, positions in the Women's Services Department at Ochsner St. Anne, or other vacancies across Ochsner Health. So in closing, while this decision was extremely difficult, it was made in the best interest of the mothers and the babies. It will also pave the way for greater enhancements to adult services offerings to deliver care most needed by our residents of St. Mary now and in the future. Thank you. That's all the comments I have. Thank you.
Yeah. So we can moving on to item 11 on the agenda, guest and public comment. I think Mayor Lee Drag now.
Yeah.
Thank you for having this meeting. This conversation is twofold, right? There's 2 sides to every story. And, well, actually, most of the time there's 3. But in this case, I do understand what Ochsner is saying. If they only have 1 OBGYN, it becomes a safety issue, right? After talking to multiple doctors and nurses, they agree with that. But that's about all I can say is I agree with, okay? So what I don't agree with, and I'll get back to that part of it in a second, is how fast it happened, especially since births are 9 months, pregnancy's 9 months long, you get 1 month worth of warning. That's not very fair. Two, majority of the people that, a lot of the people that birth here do not have an ability to go out of town, don't have wheels, cars, to go. And also, some of the numbers that Ochsner is saying is just not true. They're just not true. We don't have a decline in population. We can prove that through electric bills. There's more electric bills now than there were in the last 10 years. Okay, so for every electric bill, according to the state, is 2.94 people, almost 3 people. We have 600 more light bills now than we had 3 years ago. So we're not declining, we're going up. The population of birthing mothers, I'm just saying the facts, okay? Birthing mothers cannot be going down because now we have more kids of that age playing sports than we ever had here. So that means the mothers are that age group. If the kids are between 3 and 12, then that means the mothers are of birthing age. So those numbers, maybe in their hospital, that's the fact, but not in this community. I wanted to straighten that out because I was hired by the people to protect the people at all costs, right? In this, so also, I do understand I totally understand where they're coming from with the doctors and why, and I totally understand why we only have 10% or so of the people that go to our hospital instead of go everywhere. That means 90% of the people are leaving here, right? That's because nobody's staying in front of the people in advertising. Nobody's staying there, and nobody's advertising to keep the people here. I'm the mayor. I would have saw advertisement if it happened. I ride around this town all day long, every day. And so do some of the people that work in the city, in the parish. Everybody I talk to, every person says, we don't see advertising anywhere, except for maybe 1 or 2 generic Facebook posts every 3 months. I don't need to get further into that because I can get a lot deeper into that, but I'll leave that alone. I believe that if Ochsner would have came to the city or y'all and said, hey, we need to publicize the hospital, we need help, then we would have done it. It is my and the council members and everybody in the public that's elected's job to sell the city to these doctors, right? It's Ochsner's job to sell the hospital, but they need to move here. So it's our job to sell the city. I asked multiple times if they needed help. Nobody said, yes, we need help, right? So I left it alone. I thought they had it under control. So, like everything else, everything gets thrown in my lap. It's my fault, even if this goes bad, right? So I have to work a problem until it's not a problem. I believe that what needs to happen is there needs to be an agreement, and it's my understanding, to Mr. Sam, that the governor is going to talk with Pete November, right? Or has talked to him. I don't know yet. Sam can comment on that later. All right, I propose that what if we reenact the tax that this board has had in the past years, but hasn't had in a long time, to help Ochsner recruit these doctors, right? And to help with the shortfall in OB, right? To keep this open. Now, I'm not saying it'll work. I'm just saying I think that this is a very good, viable idea. The problem we have is if this shuts down, I don't think a lot of things are grandfathered, and it'll be almost impossible to open it back up. So this is something that has to move very fast, and I've been in touch with our senator and our representatives, and Mr. Sam here has been in touch with the governor about it. I don't know exactly how far it's going to go, but I've done everything I can do. But I do believe that if this board puts up a tax the way it used to be, right, that everybody else has a tax, Franklin has a tax, everybody else has a tax that protects their hospital, that should be enough for Ochsner to see that we mean business, right? And say after so many months, however many months doctors say it takes to normally bring in new doctors, if we fail at that, if we fail at bringing the doctors in, then it's on us at that point. We failed, right? But I think that Ochsner should give us that chance. I'm not talking bad about Ochsner. Don't get me wrong. I'm not talking bad about him. I'm saying that throwing this in my lap as the mayor in 1 month's time is just not enough time for us to fix the problem. And I think that, I know that there's a solution to this. We just need a little bit extra time to get it done. I would wholeheartedly push this tax in the district. It's not just Morgan City. It's all the way, I think, to Calumet, Amelia to Calumet. And it wouldn't be very much on the people, when you spread it that far. But like I said, there is an ability for a plan, and we just need the opportunity to sit down and discuss it. Now, both sides got to agree to do that. Like, I'm sure y'all board would want to do it. I would want to do it. Everybody in this room would want to do it. But if Ochsner says no, then it's no. Then that turns into basically a slaughterhouse, political slaughterhouse, because everybody is going to pound on them forever. And I don't want that to happen, because we need that hospital. But also the hospital needs us, right? So the hospital don't operate without the people. So if we bring them 10% more people, they're only getting 10% of the workload now. If they end up with 20%, they become so profitable that they can't look back. Because basically, if they get that much workload, it's more than they can handle with the same people that they have running. So that's my proposal. I know y'all got to do whatever, and I'll let Sam talk about what he said with the governor. But so we're doing everything we can do right now.
We appreciate the support, Lee. Sam. You're up.
Mr. Chairman and committee members, I guess it was 4 years ago. It's been that long since we came down to the end of the line, and I was your representative at the time, and called the governor and on that fateful night, and the hospital was close to closing, and in probably 20 minutes the governor called back and said, go and tell the board that Ochsner's is going to take the hospital. And it was a great sigh of relief for everyone, and it's worked well up to now. This new proposal kind of came out of nowhere, and I talked with the governor yesterday about it, and I have lunch with him tomorrow, and I'll bring back to him whatever you decide to do. But we're in support of continuing to have babies born here. The governor's in support of that. We didn't talk about any details. I told him we had the meeting tonight. Whatever your local members decide to do, whatever you decide to do as a board, we'll be supportive of that. That's pretty much all I can say right now, because you have to act first. But I'm hoping that it's a positive. Any questions?
Any questions?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sam.
James Bennett.
James Sinet? James Bennett.
Oh, who's looking else? I'm sorry.
Come on, James.
How you doing? Good evening. My name is James Bennett. I'm your parish council for District 7, which represents, falls in my district, the hospital. I have several board members here appointed by myself. I'm just here in support of Mayor Dragnon and Mr. Sam Jones's plan. Me and Lee talked about a couple plans that all were pretty good ideas. I just want to do whatever in our power, whatever we can do to help y'all to keep this thing going. And please support Mayor Dragnon and local officials for a positive plan to keep our hospital with us, with the delivery section with us. Thank you.
Thank you, James.
Paige
page?
So any kind of information or statistics I got, I printed out so you guys can look at it after if you wanted to. Okay. So time. Time is crucial in obstetric emergencies. It's the difference of life and death. 30 minutes. This is the suggested guidelines according to the American College of Obstetrics and Gynecologists and the American Academy of Pediatrics. The crucial time from decision to incision on emergency C-sections. 6 minutes. 6 minutes is the travel time to our local hospital, Ochsner St. 28 minutes. This is the travel time to Franklin Foundation. 43 minutes is the travel time to Terrebonne General and Thibodeau Regional. And lastly, 48 minutes is the travel time to Ochsner St. Anne and Raceland. No longer will the golden, crucial 30-minute window be a possibility for our local mothers. No longer can our mothers travel 6 minutes to save their lives or their babies' lives. This is only one of the many consequences this closure will force our community to face. My second child was born by crash cesarean section due to a placental abruption. I was already at the hospital due to other complications when I started to hemorrhage. Luckily, me and my child survived because I was treated swiftly and quickly. This is one of the reasons this topic is so near and dear to my heart. Another reason is because of a similar situation that happened to someone very special to me that wasn't as lucky with her outcome, but is alive to tell her story today. As this happened a little over a year ago, she doesn't feel comfortable speaking about it in person. But she asked me to share it with the board, hoping that it will land on somebody's heart to change the minds and maybe not close Ochsner's obstetrics. This is her testimony in her words. I had 2 prior pregnancies without many issues, so after a long day of working, doctor's appointments, and taking care of my family, I started with a little cramping and pains that I thought were due to Braxton Hicks, and just overall being tired. My pains over time started to increase, but they did not feel like contractions. I called the hospital I was supposed to deliver at, which was out of town and nearly 45 minutes away, as this was where my OBGYN was delivering now. Since I was only 32 weeks, I was told to wait an hour to see if they will subside. I was told to walk, take a bath, drink water. I did all of these things and started to help a little. I was able to fall asleep after a while. I then awoke to extremely bad pains and knew something was wrong. I then felt like something was ripping inside and blood went everywhere. I screamed for my husband and he got our children up and we rushed out the door. The original plan was to go to the hospital I was supposed to deliver, but we knew we would never make it in time. My husband made the quick decision to go to Ochsner St. Mary since it was the closer option. We are so glad we made that decision instead of traveling the 45 minutes to the hospital. I was quickly admitted, brought upstairs, and shortly after being admitted, the doctor let us know there was no heartbeat. Our baby boy was gone. The focus quickly changed on me and my care. After the needed tests and exams, it was determined I would need a C-section due to placental abruption. The doctors and staff worked quickly to get me prepped into surgery. This is where things became drastically worse. My vitals were unstable and the bleeding was worse than I expected. Originally I was awake for the section, but soon I had to be put under anesthesia. Thanks to the quick work of the doctors and our choice to go to Ochsner St. Mary, my life was saved. Unfortunately, it was too late for my baby. If I would have gone to any other hospital, I would have not survived to see my children grow up. The staff at Ochsner St. Mary were very empathetic to our situation and treated us with the utmost care. They helped us with everything from medical care to helping us communicate with a funeral home for our baby. They treated us like we were their own friends and family. Most of the workers at this hospital come from our small area. I believe this allowed them to show us the compassion and support we desperately needed through this time. We are forever grateful for the staff of Ochsner St. Mary. This is a real person, a person who would no longer be here, no longer would be around for her children, a wife, a daughter, an aunt, a friend. This is what we need to think about when we're making the choice to close our local obstetric floor. Recently, I'd spoken to Dr. Katie Casamano, who heads the research of University of Minnesota Rural Health Research Center. I have printed out her studies and suggestions she's personally sent to me to give to you all. When speaking to Dr. Casamano, she said, and I quote, "Rural hospitals often close their OB services because risk, financial, and safety are deemed too high. But when the hospital makes these decisions to close and let go of risk, it does not disappear. It is a risk that pregnant people, families, neighbors, and our community members must figure out how to handle. Understanding and discussing the consequences of OB unit closures, such as longer driving distances, higher rates of out-of-hospital births, more emergency room births, and higher rates of preterm labor is essential." As I was looking into the long-term effects this will have on our community, I was shocked and saddened to see what the future holds for us if our obstetric floor closes. Studies have shown the trend of rural obstetric unit closures have continued growing disproportionately and affecting rural areas like ours with very real and scary consequences. These consequences are: 1, an increased lack of prenatal care, which global data and tracking indicates causes patients to have a higher risk of morbidity, deaths in mother and child, and poor infant outcomes. 2, an increase in preterm birth, which is the leading cause of infant death. 3, increase of birth in emergency departments. And 4, larger occurrences of necessity for C-section. In layman's terms, we will see sicker mothers, sicker babies, and eventually we will lose lives. The research shows that in areas like ours that have been left behind or forgotten are now facing these very serious outcomes. How can we allow this to happen? According to the 2020 census, 19.8% of St. Mary's population live under the poverty line and depend on government assistance like Medicaid. The largest majority of this population is women in childbearing years. Statistically, half of rural births are funded by Medicaid. As Medicaid pays substantially lower rates for childbirth compared to private insurance, this is where the issue arises. But the patient in rural areas are the ones that need easily accessible care. Not only is it proven that mothers in rural areas have overall poorer health, but they are also the ones who might not be able to take off of work to travel out of town to go to their appointments, or who might not have transportation to travel long distances. As I understand this is an issue that has grown and continued to grow over the last decade plus, I feel it's important we put a stop to it now. We need to work together and have an open dialogue and plan actions to implement to end this atrocity. We are at the precipice of this cliff. Access to basic and necessary health care is a human right. This is something that needs to be addressed and spoken about. We need access to emergency health care for everyone, including women and children. Closing this department will lead to our healthcare professionals and their families moving out to follow jobs, families to move out to have better access to care, businesses will close as their patrons dwindle away. This will affect our future in more aspects than a lot of us understand. We have to keep our community alive. Ochners, you have an opportunity to do something very important to all of us. Be different than the other hospital systems. Show the public you care. Use actions to show that healthcare is not a commodity, but a necessity. Louisiana is ranked number 2 in infant deaths. Let's not make it number 1. Let us make it known that life is priceless and worth more than the bottom line. Be the change. We cannot let this plague grow. Because 30 minutes is all it takes to make the difference of life versus absolute devastation for any family. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing, Paige.
Emily DeRoche.
Hi, my name is Emily. I've been a resident here in Morgan City almost my whole life. I'm here tonight to tell my story, my emergency delivery with my second daughter. Almost 2 years ago, I experienced the most terrifying night of my life. It was April 25th, 2021. I was 36 weeks pregnant, and I was laying in bed watching Netflix Around 11:30 p.m., I got up to go to the bathroom one last time before I went to sleep. As I'm sitting there, all of a sudden, I started to hemorrhage horribly. Blood was everywhere. As panic began to set in, I started screaming at my boyfriend to wake up. I quickly grabbed my phone and called my OB's emergency number, who is in Thibodeau. I explained to her what was happening, and she told me to come to the hospital. Then, realizing she had no clue that I lived 40 minutes away, I told her I was located in Morgan City. She told me to immediately get to the nearest hospital. Once my mom got to my house to watch my daughter, my oldest daughter, we sped off to Ochsner St, which is about 5 minutes from where we live. We were admitted to the labor and delivery floor where an on-call doctor came in to examine me. He told me that I was experiencing placental abruption and that I needed an emergency C-section. Once the surgical team was in place, they brought me to the surgical floor, and around 1 a.m., my sweet baby girl was born. At some point afterwards, my regular OB told me that if I had not gone to Ochsner St. Mary, I very well could have bled out trying to get to Thibodeau. Ochsner saved my life and my daughter's life that night, and I will forever be grateful to them. When I read the news about the labor and delivery floor being shut down, I was shocked, angry, and terrified. Had this been 2 years ago, I don't know if I would be here or if my daughter would be here. The closest labor and delivery unit to me now is Bayou Health System, previously Franklin Foundation, and that's 20 minutes from where we live. The moral of my story is that minutes count. I honestly don't know if I would have made it to Franklin, and that's a terrifying feeling. My heart is so scared for all the women in our community who are pregnant now or are planning to become pregnant. Things happen too quickly, and without a hospital close by to go to for an emergency, I fear the worst. So while you're making this decision, please remember the one thing I've said: minutes matter. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing.
Dean Adams.
How y'all doing tonight? Dean Adams, I'm resident of Morgan City all my life. Seminary Parish Council at Large, I represent the whole parish. I'm here to say I'd like to see this facility OB department stay, because I was in the fire service for many years, and minutes do count. It's the golden hour, and it's one thing if you say 45 minutes over there, but if someone who doesn't have transportation has to wait on an ambulance for 20 minutes, and then to get to the hospital down the road 45 minutes, we're over an hour. Today they had an accident in Morgan City. Took the ambulance 40 minutes to get there, 40 minutes. So then we're talking about an hour and 20 minutes. We have a great staff here. We want to keep them here, and let's support them.
Thank you, Dean.
Mary Lou.
So the first thing I'm going to say is that when I get angry, I cry. So the way this affects me is I work in the emergency room. Been working in the ER for a long time. One of the responses I got when I questioned about this was precipitous deliveries happen all the time, and that's true. I've gone out on the ramp and gotten women out of the back of cars that had already delivered their baby in the car, and we deal with that. We've had some come in and they don't even know they're pregnant, and then we raise the sheet and there's a head. We deal with those kinds of cases. And someone in administration said, it's going to all be up to whatever the ER doctor says. It's going to all be decided by the ER doctor's orders. So this was my question. And I'm glad that we had a couple of testimonies, because that was kind of what I was concerned about. We're going to deal with the emergencies that we are trained to deal with. But there's one thing that we're not trained to deal with, and that's those placenta previas that come in and you have just a few minutes, or you're going to have a dead baby. And I brought the case even further. And I said, what if we get this placenta previa in the ER who's about to deliver a dead baby? And it happens to be Dr. Price's patient. Let's just say it's the middle of the day, and she's in her office, which is across the parking lot. She's right there. And this is her patient that just presented to my ER. And we have an OR team that's upstairs on the second floor and could be available to deliver this baby by C-section and save that life. But because we won't have obstetrics and Dr. Price won't be able to do a C-section, that woman would have to be transferred. When all the other pieces are in place, we have a doctor that can do the surgery, we have a surgery team that can take her to the surgery room, anesthesia's ready, we can save this baby. But because we won't have this available to us, I'm going to be in the ER dealing with a dead baby. And I get that the administrative staff don't understand that because they're not on our side of this. They're not on the healthcare side like we are. I understand business, I understand the numbers, but personally, I really don't care. Because have we had this case in the ER when I've been there? No. But I want to know, what are we going to do when we get that kind of case? That's what I want to know. The worst case scenario, I want to know how we're going to handle that case. Pray it never happens, but if it does, how are we going to handle that? And what Dean said about Acadian Ambulance, I work in the ER. I can tell you right now, Acadian Ambulance is suffering. They have lost staff. We had an ambulance show up to transport a patient to another facility, and the staff that was on that unit was a basic EMT and a driver. So the driver is not even a basic EMT. They've had to hire drivers because they're so short-staffed. So they don't even have a paramedic on all the trucks. And we're going to try to send a lady who's about to deliver a dead baby 45 minutes up the road to St. Anne, or even 20 minutes to Franklin. That's the worst case scenario, and I want to know how they want us to deal with that. You know, and it, like I said, it may never happen, but it would be a sad, sad day in our community if we have the doctor in the parking lot in her office and the staff there that could do. And I even asked one of our surgeons, and I was kind of joking, but I said, you know, if we get into this predicament, can we call you? So I don't know. I mean, can a general surgeon do a C-section, doc? I don't know. But the answer was no. No, that's not something we could do. So I need Ochsner to answer that for us. What are we going to do when we have that worst case scenario?
Thank you, ma'am. Senator Outland. Would you like to come forward, Senator Outland, to make a statement?
I wanted to mention Senator Outland.
Sure.
I neglected to say that we have reasons to believe that Ochsner is open to a discussion.
Thank you for having me. After Fernis's comments, I felt compelled to come up here and talk. I got a little late, so I apologize about that. I'm not only state senator from this area, but I also happen to be chairman of Hospital Service District Number 1. Now, let me tell you, when Light Point was fixing to pull out, it was Sam and I and some others in the delegation that went to the governor. We brokered the deal to get Ochsner here. I was very excited about that. Look, Ochsner is a great community partner. I work with them all over the state, from Jefferson to Lafayette and beyond. They do a great job. This is no diss on Ochsner. But the fact of the matter is, I can't let him say that the labor and delivery, that he has the lowest amount of labor and delivery in this area. Hospital Service District 1, we now call ourselves Bayou Bend, formerly known as Franklin Foundation. We are full-time delivery. We have full-time labor and delivery, and we only do 6 to 8 births a month. Now, we're trying to build on that, but we have a lower amount. It cost us, and we look at the cost reports every month, it cost us $1 million to $2 million a year to have that service there. But it is possible. So I just wanted to set the record straight. and let you know, and we are only 25 minutes down the road. The reason I was so disappointed when this news came out, and I talked to our CFO over there, she was given no heads up. You know, a lot of this burden may have to shift toward there. We're 25 minutes away, and St. Anne's is 45 minutes away. It's logical. But we were given no heads up, no time to prepare, no pre-notice, and I think that was, and I'll put that one on Ochsner, that they should have at least talked to the regional doctors and hospitals to give them a heads up of what was fixing to happen. Now, I also will be talking to Pete November here shortly. I know the governor's going to talk to him, and I'm going to voice my displeasure with him, and I'm going to urge him to reconsider or at least keep the service here long enough for y'all to come and work with them on some type of solution into the future. So I vow to work with you as partners. We are one St. Mary Parish, and we should work that way. So thank you.
How does it work for us with, like, as board members or community members?
Yeah, if anybody would like to make a comment, they can make a comment now.
So I was just asking, how does this work as being on the board as well as being a community member and a concerned citizen? I would say that most of small town America really pushes growing the community, keeping the young, bringing the young people back after they graduate from college or what have you, and really trying to grow a thriving community. And as a hospital, if we're pushing out and closing labor and delivery, how many women of childbearing age are going to return to this area when there isn't a place for them to safely go to deliver that baby, to grow that family that we want so desperately in small town America? So it is a gigantic problem when it comes to community growth, and a couple of people have mentioned it, that with this closure, if it were to come to fruition, perhaps a mass exodus. And I'm not a doomsdayer, it's just a mass exodus of young people looking for work, people looking for a safe place to raise a family, to bring their children to the doctor, because as it was brought to my attention today, and I didn't realize it until this morning, was that along with the OB closure comes pediatric unit. And that's something we're not talking about. And even if we are not in our childbearing age right now where we're pregnant or planning to become pregnant, we still have small children. And to know that my pediatrician, if my child is sick, cannot admit my child to the hospital across the street for fluids, for medication, for treatment, or what have you, and I would have to go either direction and figure that out. Not to mention, we've already discussed the disparity in the population, the disproportionate, wealth, income, ability, access, transportation, all of these pieces of the puzzle. If your child is transported to another hospital, the parents, the family, the support system may not be able to go with the child. There's a lot of gaps that are created when we create a gigantic gap in the hospital with labor, delivery, and pediatrics. I would say also there's a disproportionate impact on Black women that already have disproportionate rates of maternal mortality. I think we have to look at it from that perspective too. We are a diverse community, and whereas in this room we may not seem very diverse, we are a diverse community with voices, concerns, issues, and we all have a stake in this, not just those of us who are standing up to speak today. And I have a question too about Franklin's capacity. I mean, Senator, you're mentioning that no one contacted you to say, hey, this is a thing that's going to happen. How equipped are you to handle this new influx? Because we're talking about Ochsner St. Anne's, but they're double the distance than what you are with Franklin. You're going to be the ones who feel the most impact from this. How equipped are you to handle this new influx? It's not a matter of effort, it's just a matter of ability right now on the short notice. I would also say that, our hospital has struggled to rebuild trust in the community. And that's not a lie. I am a woman of child. I have 4 small children. I did choose to have all 4 of my children out of town because For my generation, we were brought up fearing lack of safe medical care here. Whether or not that's true, it doesn't matter, that's the optics. That's what the people in our community have felt for a long time. We've all heard nicknames, we've all heard, you know, whatever. If you're going there, oh my gosh. We've been trying to rebuild that. And when Ochsner came on board, that was the hope. And if now, after all of that hope, we're making a decision to cut out growing families, and we're going to focus on an aging population, which is equally important, but it is not all that is important, because if we're talking about growing a business, if we're just talking about growing a business, this group of women, of men, of children, growing, becoming families, are aging as well. They eventually will become this new generation who has only been able to travel outside for medical care for themselves and their family, and now find themselves having to make a new decision, or maybe sticking with the plan that they have grown up with. So if we're talking about growing a business, if we're just talking about it from a corporate level, and we're looking at big picture, and we're not looking at quick Band-Aid fixes, then I think we need to look at the people that we are trying to disservice now as people who we are going to need to service later, who will need us later. OB units don't make money, and everybody knows that. That's not the part of the hospital that is known to make money. So if there is an issue there, perhaps, I think the mayor mentioned it earlier about advertising. Well, from a public relations standpoint, perhaps that's where we can dive in. Maybe it's cut it out, maybe it's doubled down. I don't know. I'm not even really truly presenting solutions necessarily. I'm bringing up concepts and ideas just like the rest of us have. Doubling down, PR campaigns, re-educating our community on what this hospital is, what it can be, the lives that were saved. Even if it wasn't a choice in the moment, you just had to go with what was necessary. Testimonials, real facts, real people talking, and that ends gossip, rumor, and old run-of-the-mill stories that people have been telling for 30 or 40 years. If we're really talking about revamping, we need to not only revitalize, but we have to regroup and grow. And that's the way, in my opinion, for whatever that's worth, that these types of things get fixed. We also mentioned increased pressure on emergency services, whether that be in the hospital, fire department, police department, all areas of our community that are understaffed and having trouble finding people to work these jobs. And now if we're taking those few people, and God forbid we ever have another pandemic or another spike in cases, and now we're taking our limited resources and spreading them out to bring people to hospitals in distant cities to have their babies, or for pediatric emergencies. I spoke to someone with the Sheriff's Department today, a medical emergency with a very, very young infant, and that infant had to be transported. This just happened last week because we could not do inpatient here in this town. So if we're going to talk the big talk about being in the community and revitalizing community, then we've got to walk the walk too. And when it gets hot, we don't just run away. We come at least have a conversation. It's at a minimum, it's worth a broader conversation and not just a notification. We have something to say about this, and it's far more than just the one-sided argument.
Does anyone else have public comment? We're going to be shortly here moving on to item 12 on our agenda, which is our executive session, where we will discuss strategic planning pursuant to revised statute 46-1071, both here at the meeting site, which we will then continue this Friday, next Friday, at Ochsner St. Mary for our hospital tour. And I'd like to invite Sam and Mary Dragner to join us briefly in the executive session to discuss a few things. And yeah, afterwards we will be adjourning, and so there won't be any further discussions, but I think everyone who came and presented and shared their story, I think we owe it to the community, we owe it to the hospital staff, the nursing staff. Dr. Price, for goodness sake, she's been just a hero for our community. We owe it to her to try to make this work. And so, with that being said, I'll take a motion that we move on to executive session for further discussion.
I'll move to go into executive session.
Second. Gary, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.